we're gonna let you take it away with the news.
The first thing is freaking massive. Um, and that is that Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard for just under $70 billion. 68.7 or something like that. I think it's 68 something billion dollars is what they purchased it for. Um, really, really big acquisition in gaming. Just just colossal, honestly. Kind of out of the blue. Um, Especially since Activision has been um, in trouble for the past 6 months and more. Um, like, what
It's
do you?
because of them being in trouble, it made it so much easier to buy them, though. That's the thing.
That's kind of what I was. That's what I was about to say. Is like I wonder how much it's like if this would be happening if they hadn't been in so much trouble and all the troubles that they've been in. If maybe that brought their sale price down to something that Microsoft was like, well, we could make a move here.
Well, I think it was Phil Spencer. I thought there was an article or something like that about him essentially realizing that there's blood in the water and went ahead and approached, was it Bobby Kotick? Kotick? I forget now how it's pronounced. But yeah, approached him and wanted to see about now's the time. Plus, Bobby being in such hot water and being like it's perfect time for him to do the rich man thing and jump ship and try to get away more or less scot free. Hopefully that's not the case in the end. But what's going to happen is generally if you're still attached to the company while this stuff goes down, then you get in trouble. But then then afterwards the company then does the thing of, okay, we understand this person's bad. They're going to get in trouble and we're going to fire them, essentially, or we're getting rid of them. But if he jumps ship beforehand, he's just like, he not only gets a paycheck, but he gets to wipe his hands away and try to get off scot free like an asshole rich guy. So only time will tell if he actually gets his just desserts. But hopefully we get some. He'll have to pay in the end instead of get
Yeah,
paid.
I mean, I think that he is going to be released once the deal goes through. The deal is not set to happen for a while. I think they're saying July 22 through July 23 is when the deal is supposed to be finalized. So it's not a done deal yet in the strictest sense of the term, though everybody thinks that it will happen. I don't think there's any issues with the SEC saying that they can't do it, or if there's any kind of government block. I don't think it's going
Yeah.
to run into that.
Well, that's one of those things that if there was something, if you're trying to hold like the monopoly card over you, like technically you can then look and be like, look at all these. There's plenty of developers out there because every indie developer would then be classified. So then you'd have it'll be a messy situation if they truly try to. It's part of it is it's a some of it's bad because more corporations getting the bigger corporations are only getting bigger by swallowing up the medium to large size fish. And like, well, then that only leaves the megacorps and the small indie guys. Um, and you're looking at the amount of money they spend. I mean, Microsoft really does have that fuck you money, that, like you said earlier, because like the if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, Lucas sold Star Wars for like what 4.2. No, Star Wars was for 10. That's right. Marvel was for 4.2. 4.2 billion for Marvel. I mean, that is now like the biggest, franchise now, period, for the most part, and then 10 billion for Star Wars. So that's insane. I mean,
The
you
Activision
combine those,
Blizzard is 70 billion.
yeah. I mean, that's so if you look at was it Marvel 4.2 billion, that's 16 times that amount.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's Activision Blizzard. That is the biggest. Like if it's not the biggest, it's like it has to be close to. I think it is the biggest entertainment transaction of this sort.
Yeah, I mean, like those acquisitions by Disney were quite a while ago now. So there's some inflation going on there, but also just like kind of like the thing I would say that is the main difference is that like those are big franchises and you can make a lot of money with Marvel and Star Wars. You really can. You have toys, you have merchandise, all that stuff, but you still have to shell out money to make like that merchandise. For Activision Blizzard, they have Call of Duty, which I want to talk about in a second, and then Overwatch to a lesser degree, some other stuff that literally just prints money. Like Call of Duty just prints money, day after day, week after week. Sure, they spend money to make levels and gear and cosmetics and stuff, but they really, it's to me, I don't think it's going to be as much as like having to get space for merchandise and moving it around and stuff like that. So in a way, like it is it's kind of surprising that it's a more expensive buy, but when you think about it, like these are just money printing machines, it also does make some sense that uh, it would cost more to just buy a money machine. Because there's less work that you have to do on that end. That's kind of my guessing, but also time has passed and the prices on this stuff has just gone up. And like Activision Blizzard is a before all of this mess, they were a perfectly healthy company with a lot of really great stuff going on for them. Marvel, at the time that they were bought, you know, not so much. They had a lot of legacy. Comic books, were not doing as great as they used to be. So they were probably kind of cheap for that. And then Star Wars was, hadn't been made in a while, and George didn't really want to do much more with it, but probably should have sold Star Wars for more than they did. But
I mean, that was back in 2012 is when Star Wars was sold.
it's like 9 years
So
ago. Well, just about 10 years ago now. Yeah,
yeah, so they but still, it's like even with inflation, it's just like it still doesn't compare. Um,
yeah. The price
and
has
with
just gone up. Yeah, I think you're right.
yeah, well, that and it's just this last year, since COVID, there seems to be way more of these acquisitions happening left and right. Um, so like now that the other part of it is like, well, you can now look forward to a bunch of more stuff coming to Game Pass.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it's just like, okay, how long will it take for them to do another tier? Like, you know,
Hmm.
Game Pass, Plus, because it didn't take much for Nintendo to be like, all it took was some Sega games and 64 or whatever to them for Nintendo to be like, you now have to pay more to get this. Um, it's like,
They're
but
worse
Game
about
Pass
it,
is
but yeah,
oh yeah, well that's also overall cheaper, as well. But when it comes to Game Pass, I'm like, I think it's going to be, granted this deal hasn't even finished yet, so
it'll be
you
a
have at
while.
least probably another year, and you're safe before prices go up. But when they actually do fully emerge, we'll see. I mean, it depends on how many Xboxes are out in the wild. If you can freely get them on the shelves, and bring them home at any given time, then they might be more quick to pull that trigger. Because you're already in the ecosystem. But if it's still as scarce as it is now, then they might hold off to try to bait you in and then jack up the price later. Because that's what I would do. I mean, if you wanted to get more bang for your buck, you know, tease it out at a cheap cost once everyone's like this is great, and then like okay, just like Amazon Prime or Netflix, and just slowly start incrementally increasing the prices every couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. That's the way to do it. To because like I mean I pay more now for Netflix than I did when I started. That's for sure. And it hasn't even been all that long, really. But yeah, like now would be the time to stock up if you can on months of of Game Pass. If you can get like 2 years of Game Pass bought all at once, now might be the time to do it because once Activision and Blizzard come through with all their games, they might decide, oh, this is worth more, and we're going to charge more. Um, so something I didn't think about until I was reading some stuff about this acquisition is the Call of Duty. Everybody freaking out about what's going to happen with Call of Duty. I don't give a fuck about Call of Duty in the slightest. But it is funny to watch people freak out about it because everyone who does care about it is worried about it being taken away from PlayStation. So you've got all of these people who just bought a PlayStation. Some of them waited damn near a year to do it. And now they're going to get their Call of Duty snatched away from them, whatever the acquisition goes through. It'll be a while. I think they said that there's the next 3 games are contracted with Sony, so it'll be a good chunk of time. But still, the future of Call of Duty on PlayStation is in doubt for the moment.
I think it's just gonna they're gonna keep it. It's gonna sell more if you have it open to everyone. Because there's just the ecosystem. There's just so many PlayStations out there. To cut that off, you're not gonna. You may move a few consoles doing that, but chances are, uh, most of the people already have two consoles anyways. So you're not really gonna be making. By the time, it's like I honestly, those who want to play Call of Duty, they'll find a way, and you're better off just making it available to everyone though, because honestly, it's the smart move. You make it available to as many things as possible. Uh, Microsoft seems to be wanting to make things available all around everywhere. Like if they could, there's always that rumor going around them. They might try to bring Game Pass to the Switch. That would be really neat.
Yeah,
Uh,
it'll be wild.
I mean, but they're I don't know, streaming to the Switch is such a difficult thing from the over Wi-Fi. Digital Foundry just recently did has a video up about them testing out the new Kingdom Hearts because
Oh yeah,
there's demos and that's streaming only, $90 for 3 games, and they all run like ass apparently. And then they tested out some other games like was that Plague Tale or something, and they also did Control, and Control was the only one that ran like halfway decent.
mm,
Uh, so,
it's just
but
not there yet.
yeah, they also did Guardians, and Guardians was constantly um, glitching for some of the artifacts, like his Star Lord, the patch on his back leather jacket was in the video was constantly floating above his head. It might as well have been a Sims little diamond icon because it was just constantly just floating, like for some reason, just textured above his, floating above his body. So it's not ready yet to constantly be switching or streaming to the Switch. I don't know if it's a limitation on the hardware or just the technology for streaming in general. I think it's a little bit of both. So
It'll probably be the
uh,
next iteration of the Switch before they can really think about doing that in a
reliably, yeah,
reliably. But
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah, like I think you're probably right. I think they're probably going to keep Call of Duty um, on because it's just such a big game. They're going to keep it on all the consoles. Sony might have to pay a little bit more for it. I would probably do that if I was Microsoft. I'd go, why don't you pay a little bit more for it? And but if I was Sony, people are kind of looking to Sony for some reason, I guess because that's how people think, but they were looking to Sony to like have some kind of rebuttal or answer for this. And I think that they will, but it'll be a while. But I think that Sony would be wise to begin thinking about what other Activision or what other acquisitions they can make to kind of bolster their own library because I mean, they're just like companies have to get bigger, and I think Sony's going to have to get bigger in order to compete long term with Microsoft in general. But
See, but I think I'm on the bandwagon of that's not good for us in the end.
I'm not saying it's
Um,
good for us. I'm just saying as like I'm just putting myself in the shoes of Sony and Microsoft. Like that's the way they think. But as for the gamer, yeah, I think you're right. Long term, this is kind of iffy.
Yeah, so I mean, the way the other thing is people are also looking at Microsoft to finally try to like what's their next acquisition going to be? Are they finally going to do that Japanese buying that they've been rumored forever? But the legality behind like trying to be a Western company buying a Japanese company that's stationed in Japan is going to be just really difficult. There's going to be a lot of hurdles to go through. It'd be insane. I think Sega would probably be the a prime candidate, and that seems to be targeted a lot. Like they should just buy them, or maybe a Bandai Namco. I'm like, yeah, they could in theory, but once again, it's just how much uh, Japan. I don't think the Japanese company, Japan as a whole, would want to give up. The government would want to give up their major, um, some of their major companies to the West, and they would. I think they would try to do their best to block it. Now, if there was like a opening a new branch, they've never had a problem with that. But to actually fully own a Japanese company and just buy it outright and be, like, it's not America where you can let China own, almost the entire nation. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think they would do their darndest to stop Western companies from trying to come in and buy their stuff. Um, how legal that is, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer and it's all that stuff, but I can see them doing their best to stop that. But on the other hand, on a positive side, other than more games coming to the Game Pass, no, Call of Duty might start slowing down and coming out with less iterations. Some of the other companies behind Blizzard Activision might actually get a chance to come out and do some real work. Because you know, doing
Yeah,
stuff like Tony Hawk and stuff, you can actually come out and make a proper sequel opposed to being like, hey, good job doing this thing. Now go back on the Call of Duty machine, crank that thing.
I definitely have not liked, a lot of stuff that's come from Blizzard or Activision in many years. Um, so I am glad that maybe Microsoft will have a little more oversight because I think Microsoft in general makes better decisions as far as the things that I want to play than Activision or Blizzard. So kind of keeping some of the art direction and some of that stuff the same is fine, but the way in which it's produced and the type of gameplay that they put forward, we'll see what Phil Spencer has in store for us and who he hires to put in those positions. I imagine it'll be a slow turning ship, but over time probably see some pretty interesting differences. Um, so yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what happens next for sure.